In today's video, I'll show you how you can create dark themes for your NextJS app using Tailwind CSS and Next themes. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Hamid. I'm a full stack web developer. And here on this channel, I talk all about modern web development and mainly NextJS and React. So let's get into this. As I mentioned, we're going to use Tailwind CSS for this. And Tailwind out of the box includes this dark variant that lets you style your site differently when the dark mode is enabled. For example, in this div over here, we're having a background of white. And then using this dark variant, we're selecting a different background, as you can see on the right-hand side. By default, Tailwind reads your system preferences or uses this prefers color scheme CSS media feature that reads the user's system preferences to see if they prefer light or dark, and depending on that, it just applies different styles. But it also supports if you want to build a site that allows you to toggle the dark mode manually. So as you can see here in my site, if I close this, I have this toggle button that just switches between dark mode and light mode. And to do this, we're going to use a class strategy from Tailwind to actually accomplish this. So the first thing that we should do if you wanted to manually toggle the dark classes, we would have to change our Tailwind config and add this dark mode class strategy. So if I want to show you here in my own site, in my Tailwind config.js, I have changed the dark mode to class. That's the first step. Now what happens is instead of this dark mode being triggered based on the system preferences, it will be triggered once you did this. It will be triggered once you have a class of dark higher up in the parent in the HTML tree. So again, once you have the strategy set to class, this dark variant will be enabled or will be triggered or will be used if we have a class of dark higher up somewhere in the HTML tree. Now, how do we go about adding this class dark or light to our HTML element based on the toggle of this theme button? Well, for that, we're going to use a package called Next Themes. This actually makes it very easy to read the theme and apply that class to our HTML. All you need to do is to install the package and then go to your _app.js where you can provide a custom app component and wrap your component with this theme provider that's coming from the Next Themes package. Now, this is a context provider that reads the theme from your system and actually shares this theme throughout your component. That's all you need to do. Now, your app is supporting the light and dark theme based on the system preferences. And actually what it does is it applies this data theme attribute on the HTML element. But this is not quite what we want. We first of all want a class instead of the data theme, and we want to be able to set manually the theme rather than just reading from the system preferences. So for that, we could use this hook called use theme. It gives you the current theme, so you can just show different things based on the theme. And then the set theme function that allows you to, for example, here we have a button that just toggles the theme to light or toggles it to dark. Now, to this theme provider, let me just show you my own _app.js. So to this theme provider, you can pass in different props. Now, the ones that you might come across handy is like the default theme. You can set it to be light, dark, or the system. So you can change what the default is. If you don't pass anything, it will default to the system. Unless you're setting this enable system to false, in which case it will just default to light. So what does that mean is the enable system is another prop you can pass. And this is kind of deciding whether or not to switch between the dark and light mode based on the prefers color scheme, again CSS media feature that reads the system preferences from the user. It defaults to true, meaning that it reads from the system, but you can set it to false. If you set it to false, this default theme will default to light instead of to the system. Now, the other thing that you can set over here is this attribute prop. Now it defaults to data theme. As I said, it just adds this data theme attribute to your HTML component or HTML element, but you could change this attribute and ask it to actually add a class. So that's what I did here. I said, hey, instead of adding a data attribute, add a class, because Tailwind CSS works with the class. And if you add an attribute, class attribute, setting it to light or dark, Tailwind can actually pick up on it. And that's all you need to do. So I'm going to show you what I did in my app for that. So in my layout for the site, in the header, you can see I have this theme button here. If I mount it, I'm going to have this theme button rendered. And if you're wondering why I'm checking to see if I'm mounted or not, there's this warning over here that tells you that because of server-side rendering, you have to make sure that you're mounted before rendering this kind of toggle button. And that's why I'm doing it here. And if you look at the toggle button over here, all I'm doing is using this hook, the used theme hook that is provided by the Next Themes. It will give me the current theme or the resolved theme and a set theme function. So based on the resolved theme, I'm deciding if I should render this sun or the moon. So I'm switching between these two kind of SVG icons that I'm getting from Heroicons. So this is another library by Tailwind team of SVG icons that come in like React components that they're very easy to work with. So based on the resolved theme, I'm just deciding what icon to show, and then on this button I'm just gonna toggle the theme to light or dark based on what it currently is. And that's all you need to do to set a class attribute on your HTML. Let me actually show you that as well. So if you look at my HTML over here, let me just make this a bit bigger. If you look at the HTML element, has a class of light, and when I toggle, it just sets the class of dark. Tailwind then reads this class of dark, or based on this, just enables this variance or their values, or applies their values. Now you might wonder why I'm using resolved theme instead of the theme. This hook gives you the current active theme as the theme kind of property or state. It also gives you the resolved theme. And the only difference that they have is if you have enabled the system to true, once your site loads for the first time, it reads from the system and it decides based on the system to be dark or light. Before the user actually has toggled any themes, your resolved theme will either be dark or light, but your theme will just show system because the user hasn't interacted with your theme button and it has been read from the system. So the theme actually state will show system, whereas the resolved theme will show the dark and light. So if you wanted to have a ternary or an if check to see if the result, if the resolved theme is dark or light, you can, as I'm doing. But if you're checking the theme, well, the theme won't be dark or light, it will be the system. So it will be harder to check which one actually is. So if you're enabling, long story short, if you're enabling the read from the system, which is this enable system prop, read the resolved theme instead of the theme, and you'll be okay, just like that. That's it for me, folks. I hope you learned something in this video. If you had any questions, please leave a comment for me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.